Welcome to Nashville and Beyond.
I'm Brian Copeland.
And I'm Zach Copeland.
And we're a father-son duo helping people buy, sell, and thrive in Middle Tennessee.
But this isn't just about business. It's also about our family and our community.
It's a front row seat to how we live, work, and serve right here in Music City.
So buckle up as we explore Nashville and Beyond. Well, today's episode is about mental health. It's something we all carry, whether we talk about it openly or not.
You know, and it is, it's a private subject, honestly. And so for us to talk about it in a podcast is kind of a big deal for both of us because we really we don't share that on social media. We haven't shared our stories about mental health. And while this is Nashville and Beyond the podcast, you know, there's a lot that has to do with Nashville and mental health.
Yeah, there sure is. Today's episode is the one about mental health. We're not looking for diagnoses, not comparisons, just how we've each experienced it and what we've learned.
So let's start by saying this out loud. Our mental health stories are completely different, and they don't need to look the same. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for me, mental health has been a holistic journey for me. I was raised in a very mentally strong, very mentally positive place where my mental health kind of took a turn. For the hard part was being closeted in college, you know, going to a Christian college, always being it was the 90s, you know, and if you've watched any of the TV shows or in the movies about what it was like to be closeted in the 90s, it was tough. And I remember there was a night I was at Carson Newman College in Jefferson City, Tennessee. It was on a weekend, and I just experienced the best weekend of my life. I got selected as a freshman representative for homecoming, and that was my first night in the dorm where I actually stayed on the weekend. And I remember I had a ceiling fan in my dorm room, and I thought, no one can know who I am, but I could tie that sheet around that fan and I could hang myself right now and be done with it all. And I just remember the darkness of that. And the next 4 years, because those 4 years were the darkest times of my mental health.
Okay.
I loved my college experience, hear me clearly, and I love the people I went to college with, but I wasn't who I needed to be in life. So I'm real big about environment. And I don't want to insult. I know we have listeners in East Tennessee who listen to this podcast, but environment has a big impact on your mental health.
It does.
And Nashville has been such a positive place for both of our mental healths. When I moved to Nashville, it was like and I hear this from a lot of people. I mean, I call Nashville the Hotel California. People check in here, but they never leave. We have so many people who go to Vanderbilt. They don't leave Nashville. You rarely see, you know, there's a lot of cities across America where people are doing a max exodus from those cities. Mm-hmm. We have people coming in constantly because when you're here, it's a happy place. Yeah. And so Nashville's been really good for my mental health. Well, I find myself when I go back to East Tennessee, not just because of my history of what's happened there, I just find a darkness there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for me, you know, mental health has looked very differently through the years. And I've had to, you know, learn about finding steadiness here in Nashville and people and making sure that I have the rhythms that make sense for that.
Yeah. Well, for me, you know, trauma definitely shaped my internal world in a big way as a kid. You know, we've talked about some of the stuff that I've been through as a kid in season 1 of Nashville and Beyond. And I don't want to, you know, recap a lot of that or get into it. But, you know, I experienced, you know, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, spiritual abuse, even basically all forms of abuse. And all of that was for me experienced in Arkansas. And you talked about place and environments having effect on your mental health. For me, Arkansas definitely is a place I never want to go back to again in my life. And, you know, I've actually told y'all that, and I told my mother this too. I was like, I'm never coming back to Arkansas. There is no reason at all for me to be there. And this is not, you know, for people who are from Arkansas or who are listening, I know we have people in Little Rock that listen. My best friend, just moved away from there. But it's just not a place where a young queer person can find joy and peace and stability and growth.
Right.
And so it's just not a place for me, not a place I want to go back to. On the other hand, Nashville has absolutely been a place where I've found community and belonging and love and joy and happiness and all those good fuzzy feeling things. But yeah, trauma shaped, my internal world as a kid, but it also caused me to develop some character traits that have benefited me through the rest of my life, including
that poker face.
Yeah, my poker face, resiliency, my grit, I'm a survivor. I really am.
Thank you, Beyonce.
Yeah, I am.
Destiny's Child.
I am a survivor. I've been through too much, and for me to still be here, it's only because of the grace of God and my determination to not die yet.
Yeah.
Because life's thrown a lot at me. Coping too has looked like a lot of different things at different stages in my life. I've coped with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
I've coped with sex. I've coped with food. And now I'm coping with exercise. And it's a great place to be, I think. So,
well, you were in a rough place last week because you were in a situation where you ended up at a party that was an environment that you didn't want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it took you back to a mental health place. And I was very proud of you when, because you were so excited about going out that night and to get that call from you saying, well, that was a bust.
Yeah.
But you made some mental health decisions to say, I know what that does to me.
Right.
And I can't re-enter that area in that zone because of what it does to me. Yeah. So you removed yourself.
Yeah.
So I was very proud of you for that.
Well, thank you. It wasn't difficult to do, and it wasn't easy to do, because I went there with someone, and I thought that I had set some boundaries before we arrived at this place. And once we got to this place, every boundary that I set was being crossed, and it wasn't that this person did it,
right?
But it was just the environment was not somewhere I wanted to be, and so, I had made it clear on the way there that if XYZ happens, I'll leave. And we got there, and
XYZ, A B C D E,
all of it had happened, and so I within 5 minutes dipped, and there was a little bit of confusion and frustration. But we've worked it out, me and that other person, and have talked through it, and I've come to an understanding about it. So,
while you've got a very different past from me with mental health, yours is still valid. Both of ours are valid. Yeah. Because mental health doesn't need to be compared to each other to be valid. Right. We all have our different.
Yeah, I think people tend to try to out trauma each other often.
Oh yeah.
Especially. My generation and those under me in my generation, we get into this habit of trauma dumping, and everybody wants to one up each other. And well, I'm so sorry that you went through that. I went through that too. Plus XYZ.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you have to do that if you're out there listening to this. Everybody goes through trauma. It looks different for everybody. Even the children of billionaires, I'm sure, have some trauma that they're dealing with. I can't imagine what it is, but I'm sure there's something they're dealing with. So, even with different experiences, mental health still asks the same thing from all of us, and that's attention. It isn't just about the extremes. It's about noticing the middle. So I'd love to hear from you how you recognize when something feels off.
When I was thinking about this question, because sometimes we think about moodiness, and we think mood shifts, and we're in a very stressful job. I know what we present on social media and the podcast. 90% of this job is fun, but another 90% of it, which is 180%, is stressful beyond belief.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is when I started real estate, I said, I don't want to have a boss ever again. I want to be my own boss. Mm-hmm. What I didn't realize was I was going to have 30 bosses at any given time. And many of these bosses, and I'm not bashing any of our sellers or any of our buyers right now, hear me clearly. I'm just saying a general statement for all real estate agents. We have 30 to 40 bosses at any given time, and many of those bosses have never supervised before.
Right.
And they have never worked in what we do. And then you multiply the moods they go through. So they have 3 or 4 moods they go through. You have 30 bosses times 4 moods. You're looking at 120 types of personalities out there.
Yeah.
And that can really play a huge role and have a huge toll on your mental health. And so I have learned that part of my listing appointments and my buyer intakes are almost they're tests to see if I think this person is going to take a toll on my mental health because of their unhealthiness.
Right.
And there was, we were in a listing appointment recently, and you were like, I'm shocked you took the listing. Mm-hmm. And I looked at you and I said, everyone deserves
good representation.
Good representation, exactly. But I did have some flags, but I've found that, and you heard me on a call the other day with 3 people who were wanting to list some property out of town. And I was very clear about expectations. And there was a mental health piece where flags started going off with me and you in the office there that day.
Yeah.
And it came across as rude to the people. And they came back around and asked me, would I reconsider listing? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because those mental health flags went off.
Yeah.
And so I've learned that with people, especially, I was just talking from a business standpoint, I know when something's off with someone. That's one of the discernment gifts I've been given, and I just won't work with them.
Yeah.
And I've learned to recognize my symptoms of stress when someone. It is a gut feeling for me that when I'm with someone face to face, and I can observe certain behaviors, certain verbal triggers, certain nonverbal triggers. I have learned what that does to me and my symptoms, for a better word for that.
Yeah, sure.
So I've been really good about being able to diagnose, especially in this industry, in this business. Hey, this is a stressful situation. I'm going to need to step away. And I've learned, and this is one of the greatest gifts you can give your mental health, is learn how to give strategic no's. N-O-S, the plural of no's, of no, because I could not say no to anyone, but to be able to say, no, I'm not doing this. Today, I got a call from one of my best friends in the whole wide world who shot our podcast, photography that you're seeing on your platform right now. And he's like, hey, I need an assistant for the day. And I'm busy. This is the first of the year. It's crazy, but I thought this would be a great mental health thing for me. And so I went out and did a photo shoot with him today. And I was his right-hand man and had the time of my life. Because sometimes, along this journey in my recognizing of mental health, I understand sometimes you need to take a break from what you're doing because it's been a little stressful few days for me work-wise. So,
yeah. Well, I think another tool that people can use, because you mentioned tools, is understanding and realizing that not everything requires an immediate response or answer. And
I'm proud of you.
This is something that I am in the process of learning and working through. And I think we talked about this last week with New Year's resolutions, but we live in a society where people expect a lot of immediates, and whether that's immediate gratification or immediate answers or immediate responses or immediate feedback, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for yourself and for the other person or other parties involved is to say, thanks for sharing. I'm not ready to respond. I need some time to process and think through.
You said that this morning.
I did. And I'll get back to you within the next 24 hours. And there's a lot of power in that. For me, I have been through the gamut of highs and lows in my in my mental health journey, I should say. I've dealt with suicide attempts. I've dealt with crippling chronic depression and anxiety. I have felt on top of the world at points in my life. And I have felt at the bottom of the Mariana Trench and other points in my life.
The what trench?
The Mariana Trench.
Boy, I don't know that one. We'll talk about that one later.
Oh, it's the deepest part of the ocean in the world.
Well, look at that.
It's super, super deep.
I learned something new.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I say all that to say my growth journey has been about learning to recognize shifts in my own emotional state and mental state and getting better at recognizing those shifts. I'm a battery person, so I operate on a battery. And there are times when my battery holds charge really well. Mm-hmm. And I can go through things all day into the night and wake up and do it again the next day. And then there are other times when my battery drains quickly. And when it's drained, it's drained. Yeah. You ain't getting nothing else out of me that day.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And recognizing when I can feel that something is more draining or taxing than other things and communicating that with the people around me is something that has helped. Because I think, when we first started working together, even before we started working together, when I was not even working with you yet, I wasn't really good about expressing, hey, this is draining, or hey, my battery's running kind of low. I would just start to disassociate.
Yeah. And I'm a go person.
Oh yeah. That's putting it gently.
Yeah.
And
what would be the non-gentle version of what I am? Beyond go.
Balls to the walls.
True,
everything has to happen every day, all the time.
Yeah.
And what's so funny is that Dad is the complete opposite. And so y'all, I've said this to you before, y'all are a really nice yin and yang in that way.
But who are you going to go to get some stuff done?
Well, I'll always go to you when I need planning and strategy and help even. And Dad helps too. I don't want people to think that he doesn't help. But,
but it's going to be a crock pot.
Right.
And I'm this microwave that's
right. Exactly.
Go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I would love to hear from you about how you think age has helped you, not to be ageist or to call you old or anything, but how you think age has affected your mental health journey and the way that you think about mental health.
Yeah, I think it's more of a meta thing where you're more aware. You know how to separate yourselves from the emotions. I was in a situation recently where I could have gotten really angry during it, but I thought, this isn't going to do this other person on the other receiving side of this, and it was not you. Any good for me
Shocker.
to get for me to get upset or for me to explode.
Yeah.
But I did say some things during it of, I feel like right now you have de-escalated this by getting emotional, and I'm not going to fall for that because we've still got to stay on task for the problems here.
Emotional terrorism.
Well, and that's again, that's part of maturity and experience, is being able to say, I am not going to get mad over this. I'm not going to lose my anger, my temper over this. I remember there was a situation with a friend of mine, Elizabeth, that happened at the National Association of Realtors, where someone accosted her in public. And she said, I had a choice at that moment. I could explode on them and give them all the fuel they needed to go tell this story in a different way, or I could stay calm and control myself. For me, that is maturity. That is mental health maturity, when you can take that kind of control on things like that. So how have you been learning on how to slow down and ask for help?
Gosh, I don't think I have an issue with slowing down. I'm pretty good at slowing down.
Well, when you have something on your list to get done.
Oh, I'm not going to stop until it's done. Yeah.
We just started painting your den, and literally I sat down and created you a success plan to say this is what needs to happen. And you didn't look at the success plan because you didn't know it was there. I didn't think you would start. And then you called me like, I'm at Home Depot. And you were in mode, and you're like, we're balls to the wall here.
Check it off the list.
So there is a piece of you like that. So I will push back on that.
Well, I received that pushback. For the most part, though, I think I'm pretty chill.
Yeah.
And asking for help, I tend to not like asking for help. I'll do it. I just don't like doing it. For me, asking for help was taught to me as being weak. and you don't ask for help. You just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, to use an old cliche, and you just do it. You just suffer through it by yourself. You don't tell anybody that you're going through anything. You just suffer because you're there for a reason.
That's what the Lord gave you.
Right. This is your cross to carry.
Yeah.
But like with the projects that I have around the house, the bathroom, for instance, I was convinced.
Oh, that bathroom.
I was convinced that I could do it all with zero plumbing experience, zero carpentry experience, I won't say zero, very, very, very minor electrical experience, because I had put some lights in a house before. I thought, well, I can just completely gut and renovate and remodel my whole bathroom by myself, and I can get it done in a couple weeks. It's no big deal. And as the costs and the time commitment that this was going to require from me started to weigh on me, I just panicked. And you called me and you were like, okay, you're not doing this.
We were on your back porch.
That's right. We were on my back porch. You were like, you're not doing this. We're going to find a contractor and they're going to do this for you. Mm-hmm. And thank God, because
it was a mess.
Still, right now at this point, I would be showering over at the church.
You would be.
Because it wouldn't be finished.
You would be.
And I would have, I'll probably be missing a toe at this point.
And that's what I've had to learn with you, is you're not going to ask for the help. And so sometimes I have to be a family member that says, okay, like you wanted to spray paint using a professional spray paint system your den. And I was like, buddy, have you ever used one of these?
Right.
This is not going to be good for your mental health, and you're going to be very unhappy. So, when we come back, let's talk about how the world around us affects all this: light, seasons, environment, and how it plays into all this. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back. We're going to talk quickly about seasonal changes and how they affect people more than we realize. One of the things that you may have heard over the last 10 years start to gain a little bit more popularity in the social media world is this term, seasonal affective disorder, and it's SAD, S-A-D. And people basically say, "Oh, I'm dealing with seasonal affective disorder right now." Seasonal affective disorder basically means when there's less sunlight during the day, when the nights are very long, when it's cold outside, you get more depressed. Your emotional state kind of collapses in on itself. It's a very real thing. Circadian rhythms are super important. Daylight is super important. Getting vitamin D is super important. But not having those things does give people some depression. I've gone through periods where I have dealt with seasonal affective disorder, and surprisingly, what helps for me is going to the tanning bed. And, I know it's not great for your skin, but that's only when you're going like the tan mom who was completely orange, almost like khaki. She was so tan. And her skin looked like a crocodile's neck. But anyways, sorry if you're listening.
And especially the tan ones of you.
Right. So, changes in daylight, changes in weather. Some people even, it could be the middle of the summer and there's plenty of sunshine, there's plenty of flowers and birds and nature and everything's good. And then there's a stormy day one day and they're just feeling down. And it's because sunlight and vitamin D help your body produce chemicals that make you feel good. It's actually kind of the same thing with another thing that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But what are some seasonal shifts that you have noticed, if any?
Yeah, I don't deal a lot with seasonal shifts. For me, I'm happy when it rains. I like darkness. Y'all call me a vampire because I'll sit in a dark room and I'm happy as a lark.
Yeah.
When we have days of storms or whatever, it does not affect me at all. So I'm completely opposite with that. But I think that as people are moving to Nashville, this is part about goes back to the environment piece. What I love about Nashville is our 4 distinct seasons.
Yep, we get all 4,
and they're all beautiful in their own ways.
They're not at the same time every year.
No. And our winters, while they're brutal, they're short.
Yeah.
the real short. Like, we're sitting here in January now, and it's
65 degrees, yeah.
And when,
it was like 70 on Christmas Day.
Yeah. And we'll get, here in a few weeks, we'll get into the 20s, and we'll have some snow in the end of January and the beginning of February. We'll have snow and those kind of things, maybe. But then when March rolls around, it's nice.
Yeah.
So we only get really 8 weeks of brutal cold cumulatively here. So I don't like the cold. So that can take a toll on my mental health piece. But, that's one thing I think when people are moving and they're picking their cities, that's a huge piece is the enjoyment of that. And autumn here is just gorgeous.
It is.
It's so beautiful.
It is.
And just everything that happens around here. So, I'm not affected a lot by seasonal changes because I just the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
I don't have those kind of pieces.
Yeah.
But the routines for me matter.
Yeah.
And we have daylight savings time, and with us being, if you look geographically where we are in Nashville, the time changes. The Eastern Standard Time ends just an hour and a half east of here in Crossville. So we are at the very beginning. Like if you live in, East Tennessee on that line, it's going to stay light, but we get dark first, so it's 3:30 on, in December, and it's dark, 4:00. And, learn how to adjust to that. I tend to go to bed earlier at that time, and I get up and go to the gym earlier, which can keep me more on a rhythm and all of those pieces for me. So.
Yeah. Well, you talked about fall and how beautiful fall is here in Nashville. And I just want to plug really quickly a street nearby here, Berwick Trail.
So pretty.
It is one of the most beautiful streets in Nashville, not just Madison, in all of Nashville. It fronts the Cumberland River. So you've got all of these riverfront properties, and they're all on, acre and a half lots.
Yeah. And the tree canopy.
The tree canopy is beautiful. You get the full spectrum of, leaf changing colors. And we also have a listing.
I know. I was like, we've got a great listing there.
We've got a listing on Berwick Trail. It's at 1109 Berwick Trail. It's a really, really cute MCM home.
Mid-century modern.
Yeah, mid-century modern for those of you that don't know.
What I love about Berwick Trail is like when you're walking down there at golden hour and the way the sun hits the river and then it just shines back into the trees. It's just beautiful.
It really is.
I call it the Belmead Boulevard of north
Madison.
of 40.
Yeah,
north of 40. I think it's one of the most beautiful streets.
That's true. Yep. That's true. And we walk it a lot.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Especially when it's nice out. This time of year, no, I'm not interested in walking outside.
No, I begged. You won't.
But there. When we come back, we're going to talk about what actually helps us stay balanced. So we'll be right back. So there's actually another piece of mental health that doesn't get talked about much, and it is how being connected to the earth itself can help you. So,
oh boy, you love this.
I do, y'all. I'm such a hippie. I'm an earth sign. I'm a Virgo. I love dirt. It's one of those things that sounds really strange until you look at the science, but people always say, "Oh, you just need to go outside and touch grass." Or just get your hands in the dirt. There is real science behind this. And the science is that in soil, in a live and healthy soil, I'll put a caveat on that, because if you've got, dead soil that doesn't have any life in it at all, there's not even as much as a worm in it, it's probably not going to work. But in good, healthy soil, there are microbes that exist in the soil, little organisms, that send signals to your brain to produce chemicals that make you feel good. Are you Googling this right now?
No.
Oh. And those chemicals make you feel good. They make you happy. They make you feel good about the earth and about yourself and about people around you. And that's one of the things that has really kind of drawn me to gardening. My birth father, I'll call him my sperm donor, was an avid gardener. and had at 1412 South Tyler Street in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is the house that he lived in when I was between 8 to 12 years old. He had this massive, massive garden in the backyard and had all kinds of trees and shrubs and flowers and bushes and creeping vines and all this beautiful stuff. There was a deck that they had built out there. There was a hammock. There was a big frog pond. We had a trampoline that we used to jump around on. Me and my birth brother Alec out in the backyard. And so I got to experience a beautiful garden from a pretty early age. And it made me kind of fall in love with gardening. And then I didn't do it until 2020 was when I started gardening. And I fell in love with it all over again. And I had a garden that at one point I was donating a lot of the food to the food pantry and to people at church.
Your neighbors loved you.
Neighbors, y'all, I would grow
They loved you.
fruits and vegetables and have so many that I was putting together like 2 or 3 gallons worth of produce in these giant Ziploc bags and taking them over to all of my surrounding neighbors and trying to just get rid of them. Because I don't eat tomatoes, but I love growing them because it's a very rewarding thing to grow. At one point, I was also taking so much vegetables, flowers, fruits, produce, all kinds of stuff over to the church for people to pick up on Sunday mornings. Dad was doing that with eggs because y'all just had like 100+ chickens at one point.
All those chickens,
And so the chickens were just producing. Y'all were getting like 12.5 eggs every day. At one point.
Not
and
more.
So you were taking them over to the church, and that side of gardening has just really helped my mental health. I haven't been able to start it here yet at my new house because I've had other things to work on inside to make the house more comfortable indoors and more of like a livable space that I enjoy being in. But I think I am looking forward to getting started with the gardening this year as well. How do you find any joy in the outdoors?
Well, I've watched you and what it does to you because, you talk about, this microbes and soil and everything that happens there. And while that's not been my experience, I know what it does for you and the happiness it brings. There have been days that you have disappeared for hours. And I always knew it's like, he's not answering his phone. He's not answering text messages. He's out in the garden, and you would be, because that was part of your happiness. And so while it's not been my personal experience, I can certainly tell that it's brought you great joy. I can't deny that. I don't really have a skepticism toward it. There's proof there. It's just that we're different people, as we said at the top of the podcast on this. And for me, I ask you often, can we please go walking outside? That's one of my favorite things to do. Last night I left the house and I took an hour walk around Peeler Park. Micah loves going and walking at that. And for me, I think in Nashville, we are so unbelievably lucky to have our greenway systems here. And you can have a gym membership, but the greenway's free, and they go all over the city. Micah has a drum mentorship on Saturday mornings, and his mentor's house is literally within walking distance to the greenway. So Micah gets out of the car, and I get out of the car and I go walking, and it feels great. And to have that fresh air and oxygen and trees. You and I live in an oxygen campus for Nashville.
Carbon sink.
When you look at Nashville, if you're looking at a map and you don't live here, or if you do live here and don't know this, look at Bells Bend and Neely's Bend. You're going to see these two droops on each side of downtown Nashville. And when you're looking at the airflow and how wind blows, you're going to see that it flows right through Bells Bend and Neely's Bend. And then downtown Nashville sits right in the crest of those two pieces. Well, Neely's Bend and Bells Bend are full of trees. And simple science says that that's where we get our our oxygen.
Yeah.
And so we're so lucky to live where we live, where we have that oxygen canvas. And then when you add that with greenways, there's absolutely there, Zach. I can't deny that.
Yeah. And there are non-gardening ways, like we've talked about, that people can access the grounding benefits of nature.
Yeah.
Even if it is something as simple as go take your socks and shoes off and just walk around barefoot outdoors in the dirt.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what, helps us stay balanced. Mental health isn't just about managing hard moments. It's about building sustainable rhythms. And you know me and my rhythms. I mean, that's something that I really believe in. You know how even when we do our work meetings, there's a rhythm to them.
Yeah.
There is a process. There's a way to end. There's a way to talk through what success feels like. And I think that I love having these systems in place. Even with my working out, there's a system for that. And while I log on my food, there's a system behind that. Mm-hmm. And while I'll never go back and look at that log, I know that it keeps me grounded. I take my blood pressure twice a day. There's a rhythm for that. This morning it was 117/70. It's beautiful.
Glory to God.
Beautiful.
Glory to God.
But those are part of the pieces that keep me grounded. But honestly, the biggest thing to keep me grounded is setting boundaries and knowing who is safe and who's not safe. Mm-hmm. And Bishop T.D. Jakes gave me some of the best advice, not personally, but listen to him say, the greatest gift you can give someone is the gift of goodbye.
Yeah.
And being able to say, this is not good mentally for me. Mm-hmm. And I was very, very, very active at the National Association of Realtors, which is an amazing organization. But unfortunately, I fell into the undercurrent of some bad leadership that was happening. And it was so bad on my mental health. The person who was kind of behind a lot of that every day made me feel so horrible, like I could do nothing right. And you know how I am. I'm a perfectionist, and most of the things I do are excellent. And to every day to be in this undercurrent of grossness, mm-hmm. it was just a really, really bad place to be. And so I've had to learn how to set these boundaries to say, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do strategic no's. I'm going to give the gift of goodbye to certain people. I used to have a workout partner who was so negative. And as I told you the other day, it was like I was lifting an extra 10 to 20 pounds every time I lifted anything. Mm-hmm. So one of the best things you can do for your mental health is just take control.
Yeah.
And say, I'm not going to allow this to happen. I'm not going to allow these people to take this over. How do you stay grounded?
For me, it involves a balance of creativity, a balance of rest, a balance of structure and movement. The gym is definitely a huge part of my mental health journey. It just makes me feel better every time I go, even if all I do while I'm there is walk on the treadmill. Knowing that I've gone to the gym, it's empowering, and it kind of gives you a can-do attitude, or gives me a can-do attitude, I should say. I also I've got to have creative outlets in my life, and whether that be,
the Accordion Society,
the Nashville Accordion Society, whether it be the keyboard here at home in my office that we're right next to, whether it is
this podcast has been good.
This podcast has been really good. There are lots of ways in which I value creative time. Structure obviously is really important to me. I thrive in a structured environment. And I think the distinction to be made there is that I thrive in structure, not in regimen. And for me, structure is about there is order to things, whereas regimen is about there is a repeated every day looks the same. When you think about someone being on a regiment, it's something that they do at the same time, likely every day or on a guaranteed, repeatable pattern. And for me, that doesn't offer me the same kind of benefits that structure does.
Interesting. I've never heard you say that before.
Yeah. Well, I just thought of it. So,
yay. Yeah.
And rest is important too. I think rest is important for everybody. Yeah. You know, for me, there are two things in my life that are super, super duper important. One is rest, and two is
gut health.
Gut health.
Yes, yeah. I know it.
Exactly.
You weren't going to call it gut health.
No, I was going to call it pooping.
Yeah.
You know, for me, rest.
You love to poop.
I do. I do it a lot. I'll talk about it in a second. Rest for me is so important. My bedroom is, I call it my sanctuary of sleep. I do not do anything at all in my bedroom besides sleep. I don't watch TV. I don't use a laptop, an iPad. I don't read books in bed. I will fold laundry on my bed, and that's it. Because my closets are in there, and I just want to hang the clothes up right there. But I have 2 air purifiers. I sleep with a rain soundtrack, a thunderstorm soundtrack to be exact. I like it to be pitch black. I like it to be as cold as I can possibly stand. Like I'll sleep in 60 degrees and be totally fine. Even when it's like 35 or 40 degrees out, I'll crack a window open just to get it frigid in there because it helps me sleep. And it will help you sleep too if you're listening to this. I promise. Just try it.
It doesn't help me, but go ahead.
Well, he's different. And then pooping, or gut health as you so gently put it. It's a big part of my life.
You love it.
I do. You know, I'm very regular, and I'm proud of my regularity.
Well, you got us a squatty potty for a gift, and you were like, you have to have one. I mean, it was this big deal to you like, there's a reason that we squat like this. And
Yep. Toilets are awful for you, by the way. If you're out there and you don't have a squatty potty, I would encourage you to get one, or even just the generic one or some off-brand one. Just Google, are toilets good for you? And the answer is resoundingly no. The design of them, the shape of them, the ergonomics of them is awful for your body. It's just not good. We weren't made to sit like that and poop. We weren't. Sorry, I get passionate about this.
Well, I mean, I know it's funny to talk about because poop's always funny, but it really affects your mental health.
Yeah.
When you're having issues, you're like, you're off.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're very proud of that. That's something that you don't make excuses for. You're like, this is what I'm doing. And you're very proud of it. Like a 3-year-old at potty training.
Well, your brain health is actually directly tied to your gut health. And so, just some important things to think about, y'all. We'll stop talking about poop. But there's one other thing I want us to talk about, and that is what mental health has taught us. If there's one thing mental health teaches, it's humility. I think for sure it's humility. What do you disagree with that statement? You made a face.
Oh, I just didn't know where we were.
Oh, gotcha.
Just to be honest,
gotcha.
I was looking and going, where am I now? No, my face was about that. So sorry about that. I think we've got to always stay in curiosity rather than judgment. And then back to what we said earlier, mental health isn't a competition. So, let's close in the way we always do with a few of Nashville Rathers, and then we'll call this our mental health edition.
Okay.
So here we go. We're going to give our rathers to see what we would rather have. So I'll kick it off. Would you rather have morning sunlight or evening quiet?
Oof. I think I'd rather have morning sunlight, to be honest with you. I just enjoy that fresh dose of sunlight in your eyes. It helps you wake up. And for you?
Well, I mean, it's tough on me because I love mornings. You know that about me. I'm always up. I see every single sunrise, but that's my go time. So it's not a restful mental time for me. It's a time where I'm gearing up. I'm taking the dogs out. I'm getting ready to go to the gym. I'm doing my supplements. I'm making sure the day's organized for buyers and sellers. So there's something about that evening quiet for me of after the kids go to bed and after Greg's gone to bed, and I can sit there and I can edit video, or I can edit photos, or I can just be alone. So I'm going to say evening quiet, believe it or not.
Nice. Would you rather have time alone or time with people?
Well, everybody thinks I'd want time with people, but I'm definitely a time alone guy. I'm going to Tokyo and to Bangkok by myself because I want to. I was on the phone with Tommy Choi before we started recording. He goes, dude, why didn't you call me? I would go with you. And I was like, because I want to go by myself. Mm-hmm. he was like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, but you can go to Saudi Arabia with me
to ride that roller coaster.
And he goes, I don't like roller coasters. So yeah, I'm definitely a time alone person.
Yeah. For me, it depends on who the people are.
So you're a time
and how many of them there will be. There's this test that you can use to see if someone was raised around a certain culture or not, and it's their answer to do you want to come over or do you want to go to this event? If the question is do you want to be here at this event? Oh, I thought you were about to sneeze. If their answer is, well, who all's going to be there? You know what culture they're from, or what culture they've been exposed to, at least.
True.
And let's talk about physical movement versus mental rest. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I love, of course, physical movement, but I take so few mental rest moments that when they are here, I love them. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about yoga.
Yeah.
To me, that's a mental rest.
And you love a good nap too.
I do. I love sitting up in a chair and just falling asleep for 20 minutes. It makes me happy. If I'm guessing for you, I think you're a physical movement guy.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Much more than mental rest, because I can actually disassociate while I'm at the gym or while I'm doing something physical, especially if it's repetitive, and just be super present and aware of where I am in that moment.
So being indoors or being outdoors for you?
I like the outdoors. Yeah. And you?
I love our house. I love being at our house. So I love building environments that matter. That's why I love doing what we do for a job, because I think the inside of the house matters so much in that environment. So yeah, I like being indoors actually.
Nice.
So
nice. Well, that feels like a good place to land. Do you think?
Sure. So mental health is, as we said, it's about ongoing care. We're always on a journey. I don't think we'll ever get to our destination of mental health. Yeah. I think if we do, then maybe we're not living the way we should, because sometimes those trials make us stronger.
Or you've died and gone to heaven,
right,
and you just didn't know it yet.
True.
So, we want you to tell us about your mental health journeys, the good and the bad, the highs and the lows. Maybe just share the lows with us via email and don't post them under the comments.
True.
But there's people out there, there's community out there for you if you're experiencing a tough time. We're here, we're available to talk if you need some advice, or if you're going through any of the things that we've talked about being through today. You can always certainly call us for advice. And then the other thing that you can do is you can check out our church, Covenant of the Cross.
Yep.
We've got an incredible support system there of people who will just pour love on you like you have never experienced in your life, and will make you feel like $1 million. So,
and if your financial situation is stressing you out and your home is stressing you out, we can certainly talk about that with you too, because sometimes that's a big stress for people.
It is.
And so we can certainly help you with that too. So if this conversation's resonated, we hope that it gave you language or permission to do what you need to do. So that's this week's episode on mental health. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week on Nashville and Beyond.
This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute legal, financial, or real estate advice. Listeners should always consult licensed professionals for guidance specific to their situation. Brian and Zach Copeland are licensed real estate agents with Compass, 615-522-5100. Music Dusty Boots by Eco Leaks, Nashville and Beyond, copyright 2026.